Tuning you in now to the LBX Show with your host, Brandon Wiley. Brought to you by the LBX Collective, your community to connect, engage, and inspire.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the LBX Show for July 20, 2025. We have a good for you lined up today. So this is, we'll dive into it. I guess first we're going to kick off with some news you should know. And then we're going to roll into Open and Shut with Kevin Williams. We'll obviously talk the latest openings, some of the latest closings, but a lot of the trends happening in the openings area. The next, we're going to hear about Resident Evil 2. So Adam Pratt's going to talk about that on Arcade Corner. And then we're going to close out with Chuck DeMonte as he talks about meta ads on Promo Pro Tips. So with all that being said, let's dive into some news you should know. All right. So as we like to talk about, as where I have talked about the last few weeks, is the IAAPA Foundation's, so IAAPA.org, so the IAAPA organization, the Global Association for the Attractions Industry. They have announced the FEC scholarship for 2025 through the IAAPA Foundation. And the deadline is fast approaching. It will be August 15th for you to apply. It's for students or employees that are currently in the entertainment or hospitality industries. And it's a fully paid trip, more or less, up to $2,500, but fully paid trip to the IAAPA Expo, to all the education events, to a lot of the, obviously to the trade show floor and everything else. And so if you are interested in applying for that scholarship, you can go and visit IAAPA.org and go ahead and apply. So I highly recommend that you do that. Okay, so this last week, well, not last week. I mean, it was actually like 3 weeks ago, technically, but they really quietly opened, soft opening, was Harkins Backlot. And I've been excited about these guys for a while now. And so Harkins Backlot is, I'll expand this a little bit here so you guys can see a bigger version of this picture. Maybe you can go a little bigger. There we go. All right. So I'll go really tiny in the bottom corner. All right. So Harkins Backlot is a new FEC concept by a theater chain in the Phoenix area. And they have some theaters outside the Phoenix market as well. But so basically they opened in the Valley. So the Phoenix Valley in 1933, the Harkins Theater did, the first one. They now open 19 theaters across Arizona. Again, a few outside of Arizona, but mostly here. They're a very well-known brand in the Phoenix market and in the Arizona market. But they realized that they needed to start evolving, right? So beyond just theaters to the multi-attraction venues that we've begun to see popping up. We see a lot of them out of Texas, Santikos and Evo, and others, and Synergy. And then we also seen some coming out of Salt Lake, like Fat Cats is another example there. And, we're seeing amusement components and other attractions being added into these theater chains. So Harkins decided, okay, we're going to go and do a similar thing. But for this first location, they built a separate building. So they have a Harkins location, a Harkins Theater, that's in the same shopping complex. It's it's probably about 2, maybe 100 yards. I was going to say about 300 feet from each other. So as you saw, that backlot is a separate location. This is their Harkins Theater that they've had here in the Norterra location. This is North Phoenix, so very, very North Phoenix. If you're like leaving the Phoenix market on your way up to Flagstaff to see the Grand Canyon, like this is where you would be passing by. Their next location is obviously going to be implementing is going to be a full theater and with the backlot component added in. That's going out in the West Valley. So like if you're leaving Phoenix heading to LA, for example, that you would cross that one, and that one is under construction now. But this is their Harkins Theater chain, and the little placard that you see there in front of it is just their only indication that backlot even exists over there. I really think the cross promotion so far has been terrible. Now, we did talk to the general manager over at Backlot, and they said, well, really one of the reasons we haven't done a lot of cross promotion yet is we just wanted to figure out our operations, really make sure things are smooth. We've only been open for 3 weeks. We don't want a ton of people flooding over here. We didn't even tell people we were open. We just opened our doors. And, so I think it's a good reason, but I do think that they are missing some significant opportunities. Also, when you come in, like this was the only placard I saw. We talked about their 25% off bowling, food, or crazy darts, as well as a bonus $5 card, a game card that you can get. This was also in the theater, but only at the guest service area, which most people don't go into, go up to. This is the arcade that exists currently in the Harkins. It's a player one route operated arcade, and it's fucking terrible. I haven't seen an arcade component this bad since like I went to some pizza chain. First of all, it's tokens only. Their duck crane is empty and out of order. Their actual crane machine is the claw machine is just it's like you can see it here. It's completely empty. If you're not looking at this, it's like it's abysmal. This is like against all best practices. So definitely not being operated well. But now let's talk about the backlot, because I'm really excited for this thing to open. They've been talking about this for a long time. And frankly, I think this was one of the best executed versions of an FEC that I have seen in a long time. They just did a really good job with the aesthetics, with the branding, and really light touch theming to go along with this backlot concept, this movie backlot. They had big lights hanging on trusses, and they had other things that just gave you that flavor of, but it was very well done. It wasn't overt, like you were trying to make you feel like you were in a back studio, but that it was just playing to that backlot concept. And so this is the front entrance. As you first walk in, they've got the nice projection mapped on the ground, Harkins Backlot, light as well. You turn right to the left, and there's like a little selfie screen or selfie wall that you could take a selfie on. And again, just they've done a very nice job with the overall layout too. So because it's backlot, because they have access to movies and trailers and everything else, being a part of a theater chain, they had big screens up around their amusements area and their arcade, and they had trailers playing and different clips of movies playing. And so it gave you, again, that kind of like movie theater feel, even though you were in an FEC. They had a good mix. They had 2 crazy darts, very well implemented. So they didn't go with the standard crazy darts seating and everything else that you can get as part of their package. They went and they augmented that seating, and some of the aesthetics was like some cases, like the little table that sits next to the chairs. You can't really see it very well, but they're like carrying cases that you would find in a movie set, for example. And so again, just little nods to that overarching theme. But Crazy Darts was popular. So there was a group that was playing when I first came in, another family came in, and they were like having a blast, really enjoying the game. So there definitely was even talking to the GM, that the Crazy Darts has been a key component of their attraction mix. This is the bowling. So they've got 9 lanes of bowling, 6 main lanes, and then 9 VIP lanes. The VIP lanes are just to the left of this bowling, but even this little divider between their VIP lanes and the main bowling lanes are the actual canisters that you could see that you would have to put the film reels in. So again, all those little nods, very subtle, but very well done. Now, this is a quick view into the VIP area. Again, 3 lanes over there. And there was a party going on, a birthday party going on in there. So I didn't want to walk too far and take any pictures of what was going on there. But, they have, again, movie trailers and movies, playing on those back screens behind the bowling. So they could be playing other things, music videos, whatever, but they're playing movies, movie trailers to align with their theme. This was the only area that I think was a little bit disappointing. This was their party area. So there's room for 4 individual parties, so 4 tables, but they're not subdivided. So you really can't have a private party. You can have your party table, you have your party food and drinks and stuff set up here. So that at least was well done. And, they're in a cool little themed area. Just to the left of this, I didn't include a picture here, but is the redemption area for the arcade right near the exit. It's a redemption store. So you actually go in and you can do your redemption choices, make your redemption choices. But this is like the thing that was a little underwhelming. We did find back by the restrooms what looked like could be subdivided into 2, but was open for like a corporate event or a larger party. But it would have to be a larger party, but there was a corporate event space in the back. So they did at least have something that was enclosed that could be a private, besides just the private bowling, VIP bowling suites. Now, here's where I thought they really nailed it. And I think, frankly, they are doing their bar and sports viewing better than I've seen anybody else do it, period. Better than Dave & Buster's, better than anybody else. Their bar was excellent. They had some seating to the right of this bar that was like wraparound seating that looked out. So, you could have larger groups sitting around booths, but looking out, still seeing all the TVs. The sight lines were excellent from everywhere from the bar. I could really see the whole venue from sitting at this bar corner. I had a drink there while we talked to the GM, and that was excellent. But here's what was the most stunning is their backlot arena. And is truly a sports viewing venue. It was unbelievable. So you had these tables and chairs here. You did have booths, again, wraparound booths in the back that you could get, and you could just watch sports, and they had sports going. And what was cool about this is they had a ticker down at the bottom, and then they had a ticker going on outside the Backlot Arena with all of the different sports tickers basically going by. They also said that they had the ability to connect all these screens together to have one big screen. So they wanted to have a big movie showing, or maybe the World Cup was playing, or the Super Bowl, or any of those types of big games. They could connect them all together and have one big experience. Or you could do a corporate buyout, and have something done here as well. So this to me was the Backlot Arena was absolutely phenomenal, and I think they did a great job with their amusement selections. Their layout was well done. Overall, this was one of the best implemented FECs that I've come across in a while. And I just think they did a great job. So I am looking forward to seeing how they evolve going further from there. All right. The last thing I want to talk about in News You Should Know, and we dive in a little bit deeper on the upcoming sound off that will air in just a couple of days on the 29th of July. But this is DivrLabs. So they are, if you are not familiar with them, they have designed virtual worlds and free roam 4D VR arenas for a long time. And they've just recently released the first self-service free roam VR attraction, and they're calling it their Insta VR Arena. Okay, that's fine. If you want to brand it that, I would maybe think about branding something a little bit different if you're going to drop it into your location. But it is nice because they have a self-serve kiosk. I'm not going to go into a ton of this here because we do expand further on sound off into the concept and some of what we think are the benefits and negatives of this. But this is something that they are really pushing. So they've been around since 2019, and they were really a large scale free roam VR company. And so they've tried to scale it down, create a smaller purposed and again self-serve VR component. They actually have the drawers that the VR headsets go into that you pull out, you put on yourself. I think there's some operational things you probably need to be careful with, but then, they have their own library of games as well. So, this Haunted Mansion game and this little Insiders game and Last Stand. And so they have got their own IP and content they've created. And, they've done a good job with that. So if you're looking for something that is self-service, just check out DivrLabs because, most VR setups are attendant required versus attendant free, which is what they're trying to go for. So again, if you want to learn a little bit more about it and hear some more dialogue discussion, you can just hop onto Sound Off in a couple of days and we'll dig into it. All right. That is it for News You Should Know. Coming up next, we've got Kevin Williams with what do we have? Open and shut. That's what Kevin does. Open and shut. All right. Intercard is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. Cashless systems from Intercard increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercard is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon.
Hey, welcome to another Open and Shut, another crowded one. How are you, Brandon?
Doing well. It's whatever. It's just another day of summer, just working our way through it. But man, it just there just continues to be more and more openings. It's amazing.
And their positioning is changing, but we'll go into that. Obviously, the rules exist. Pause at the right moment if we zoom past something. And can you spot the trend? But anyway, please.
Perfect. Let's do it.
So if we jump straight into the openings, and yeah, we've got a full load. We seem to have been seeing over the summer no lessening of the number of new openings. but they're also positioning themselves because of the summer period that this would be the best time to do casual soft openings or main openings, and then to restructure the business. Our friends at Andretti's boost their number up to now 11 facilities with the opening of their latest center in Oklahoma. 84,000. I think this is one of their largest installations, if my memory serves me right. Please correct me in the comments if I am wrong. But it has over 110 amusement pieces. It has its indoor high-speed course, go-karting course. It has its F&B. It has also bowling, and they've added the Sparks bowling system, projection mapped bowling component to them. So they're really going for the mixed-use leisure entertainment development, much more than I would say just being another karting facility.
Yeah, that's true. At the same time, they have seemed to have at least found their formula for now. Obviously the karting is a big thing, the name, the brand that brings people in the door. But the facilities are always very nice, very beautiful, and the guest experience is always excellent too. So I think that's one thing that doesn't get a lot of focus sometimes when we talk about some of these, is the level of customer service that you get when you walk into an Andretti. Very, very much a part of the overall guest experience as the attraction mix, as the food. It really is something they try to use as a differentiator.
Well, you know from my visit to Taco Social how much I've been fixating on the guest experience from the staff and team operation. The situation here with our friends at Andretti's is that they have hired some very clever people to advise them on how best to get their team to the best standards to create what I keep on going on about: repeat visitation memories. Moving on, and funny enough, a company I was just speaking to a couple of hours ago, our friends at Control V, they have gone and opened their 6th venue. Now, this is a boom bust kind of approach. The operation at its height had nearly 30 franchised VR arcade facilities. Then during COVID, they were decimated. A number of those facilities had to give up their franchises due to the conditions. And now the company has been pushing back. It has dusted itself off. It is refixated on its model and its business experience, its franchise package. And this is a company that is very focused on its franchise package. And they've now raised themselves up to 6 venues. We'll be soon talking about a 7th venue. And when we get to that 7th venue, I'll try and do a special discussion about Control V in comparison to the changes in the VR arcade landscape.
And I will hold my comments until we get to the 7th, and we can have a deeper discussion then.
We don't have to wait that long for the 7th. Moving on, continuing the VR mantra, and the latest Eclipso experience has opened up their 7th facility internationally. This is part of the, I'm going to butcher the name, Handrian chain that was previously called Another Thing and has now rebranded as this. They own a number of facilities, which we'll be touching on in a minute. But this particular experience is where I would say our friends at Control V are a VR arcade phase 1 kind of experience, writ large now. Eclipso is a free roaming shared reality experience. So it's more than just 4 or 5 people. It is large groups of individuals going through a lineal experience, usually a museum or immersive experience adventure kind of approach. And this is the kind of the new generation, 3rd generation application of VR, hoping to find a business model that can be profitable.
Enough said.
Moving on, and we come to the Elvis Evolutions. One of the reasons why I'm bouncing around London and other areas is to try and attend some of the new openings and brand developments that are going on. with meetings and developments. And so I was lucky enough to be invited to the opening of this latest immersive entertainment experience, which I like to call an immersive theatrical experience. This is very similar in its initial idea to what the ABBA experience was achieving with their holographic theatre auditorium experience. Here we have a walkthrough experience with live music. The immersion is through projection rather than through VR. Our friends at Layered Reality were responsible for the War of the Worlds experience, as well as the Guy Fawkes experience that recently closed. And we'll touch upon this experience a little bit more in the coming sound off.
Yeah, well, we'll, you know what, for anybody listening to this show, and you want to dig into Elvis Evolution a little bit more and maybe some of the struggles that they've had, you can tune into the sound off in just a couple of days. So I'll hold off comments there as well.
I'm not doing this purposely to force you all to go off to sound off, but we have a lot to talk about, and I think we need to keep open and shut to a certain size.
Yes.
Moving through and continuing GIGO conversation. Again, I was able to have a conversation while in London with some representatives of Gender, and in the sound off. Oh, you're finding out what the trend is, or the theme is of this one. In our following sound off, I'll be able to go into more detail. But this particular opening in Tokyo kind of proves the reality of the amusement business for all of those naysayers that saw the Akihabara facility closing down, and I saw certain consumer consumer entertainment sites saying that was the end of the arcade industry in Japan. Arcade is dead Tokyo every couple of weeks. Well, they don't really want to report on the continuing openings of the facilities, and it was nice to see that this one was the latest addition to the Tokyo large conurbation of entertainment sites.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say here is I mean, more than Andretti, I mean, these guys have nailed their model. They know what they're doing. They know what works, at least in the Japanese market. And I think they're experimenting through acquisition what works in the US and North American market and some of the others. So, but they certainly figured it out. They figured out their formula, and they're executing phenomenally well.
Not at the next sound off, but in the future, hopefully before the end of the year, we'll be able to talk a little bit more about something called a business model threshold, which is not just opening a facility because it's trending, not opening a facility just because it seems popular or it is a proven model, but actually having a USP and a package that can survive all kinds of conditions and grow. But again, something for a later time. Our friends at Five Irons launched their Dubai facility. We've already mentioned the Dubai facility, one of their largest facility operations out there. And surprise, surprise, they've suddenly started adding new secondary and tertiary entertainment there. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thought that maybe having a single...
we may have talked about that before.
Yeah, we need to find a source of information that talks about this type of stuff. And they have decided to have a partnership with our friends at Immersive Esports, which is in the territory. They are a developer of esports tournament race sim setups. They do pop-ups as well as permanent enclosures, and they've just parachuted in their latest high-level simulators into the facility. Understanding that this is unique currently to the Five Irons in UAE, though I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing this appear maybe in some of their other locations, especially with what's going to be happening with Five Irons in the next couple of months. Watch this space.
It'll be interesting to see how this mix does. So, be interested to see if they repeat this mix, or if they might test it in maybe 2-3 more locations, but it doesn't seem to me to be the perfect match. It's not as disparate, I don't think, as Toka Social and a Sandbox VR. I think those two are very much opposed at some level, but this just seems a little bit like the demographics coming in for the casual or even professional golf sim experience may not be the same people that are going to sit down at a driving sim. Maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe there's some crossover, but it does seem like this is targeting two different audiences, and maybe that's fine. It's going to just drive greater level of foot traffic, and then maybe there's some crossover as well. But we'll see how it plays out.
When I describe it like this, let's see if you still hold your view. Five Irons is aimed at a young-ish male audience that has just started drinking, that wants to have social, that likes golf, has a high level of disposable income, and likes group entertainment. Racing simulators are aimed at individuals that like racing, have a reasonable high income because they like to take part in tournament esports gaming. They also like the whole accoutrement that surrounds racing and gaming, and they like to socialize. I would argue that this is quite a similar market to the golf simulation side, though I understand where you're coming from, which is not a perfect fit, but it is an audience that you want to cultivate for your simulation venues.
Yeah, okay, so that's fair. I think from a demographic standpoint, a household income standpoint, I think you're right. These are going to be similar maybe in also male versus female, similar
Yes.
in those types of interests. I think just generally speaking, though, people interested in golf, people interested in competitive esports are different, although they are similar in a household income demographic.
If you do a Venn diagram, I have a Venn diagram I use for certain of the sectors of this market, which kinds of shows there is some connect. It's how big that interconnect is that makes a difference. And the connect between maybe Toca Social and Sandbox VR is a light touch, where here is a little bit heavier. But again, we can go into more detail in that. Moving on, and we have a flurry of what I have been forced to call sportstainment, what some people are calling batting cage 2.0. But really what we're looking at are venues run as a batting cage experience, projection maps system, ball launched cage system, supported by F&B and secondary entertainment, darts, bowling, shuffleboard, amusement, along with a strong F&B and cocktail component. Our friends at Tarco, I am butchering. Tarco. Let's say Tarco. Okay, we'll go with that one. Tarco Sports is already a known entity in Taiwan. They are part of a group linked to a particular ball tracking projection system, ball tracking system, which is incorporated in their facilities. They've had success in the Taiwanese market with over 30 facilities. They have now started a concerted effort to have a US presence with their, for argument's sake, batting cage 2.0 approach. Interesting. They've now opened their second facility. Then, at the same time, we have Batbox, which is a company associated with a ball launching projection map ball tracking system, which is now raised some investment and has started to do their soft opening on their first facility in North America, in Texas, 13,000 against 18,000 square foot. Batting cages, some amusement, F&B, cocktails. And they have raised some money, and they have also positioned themselves in the next 4 years to open 30 facilities. See the pattern?
Yeah, absolutely. Although I will say that there is a fundamental difference between Taroko Sports and Batbox. Taroko Sports, really, frankly, especially when you look at some of the pictures, very much just a batting cage 2.0. There's no real competitive, there's no social entertainment component to it. It is just cages lined up, netting lined up. There's no seating for friends to gather around or anything like that. It is like a batting cage. I know that here you're seeing like the darts, but again, even with the darts, you're coming up to throw darts. Where's everybody sitting? Where are the tables? Where are they putting their drinks and their cocktails and their food and everything else? This is not like a 501 darts scenario or a crazy dart situation. Or bat box,
or a dugout. Or a moonshot. You know, the list goes on of these companies, and they have already learned the lesson of social entertainment presentation. And I'm sorry that no matter how many Taiwanese facilities you have, you may have missed the point of what you're doing. Again, I'm willing to stand back and see how their second facility does on EBITDA and revenue generation, but the social entertainment vibe I'm not getting.
No, certainly not. Yeah, we're at Batbox, obviously very much a different scenario. But with Taroko, you know, I think even given its location, because I'm in Phoenix Valley, Mesa is part of the Phoenix Valley, so I'm very familiar with its location and the Riverview shopping complex. And it is this is where historically entertainment venues have gone to die. They do not succeed in Riverview, and so I think really what's going to help, what's going to have Taroko be successful at all in this market, or in this particular location at least, is if they can attract those kids, those adults who are really there just to swing a bat at a ball and have a batting cage 2.0 experience indoors in Arizona when you can't do that outdoors where all the outdoor batting cages are.
Going back to what I will be talking about at a later sound off about the business model, the duration, the repeat visitation, and the creation of the guest experience into a package that works. If they don't learn that lesson quickly, then they're going to have problems. Mm-hmm. I talked about this European brand, and we touched upon their involvement with Eclipso. Well, they also have an interest in Magi Park, interesting name. They have just opened their latest facility. Now, I am under the impression from our database that they haven't, this will be their first Magi Park opening, but the way that the press release and the information read, it felt like that they had been applying a number of elements that have already proven themselves. They already run a go-karting concept. They already run a VR experience. They already run a laser tag experience separate to this. And I think what we're seeing here is a mixed-use leisure entertainment approach, 13,000 square meters of such, quite a large facility. So it is a mule. And what we're seeing is a bit of everything, and aimed at a very interesting location, not a million miles away from Disneyland Paris. So you're dealing with that captive audience of both locals and possibly individuals that are not staying on property as entertainment pickup. But anyway, 15 million euros has been invested in this development, and Pandera are looking towards this as the beginning of a rollout of a particular kind of entertainment facility to add to their already existing entertainment retinue.
Yeah, I mean, this is massive. For those of you who are not making the conversion from square meters to square feet, this is 140,000 square feet, which is pretty significant. And the mix of attractions they have in here is really interesting. Not only do they have like your standard karting, laser tag, bowling, but they do have the kids trampoline they call Code Jump. So it's a whole separate floor just for the kids trampoline. This is a four-story facility. And then they have this really interesting thing called Wonderwoods, which is their restaurant. It's like an immersive dining. Yeah. They call
immersive dining experience.
Immersive dining experience, and it looks really interesting and fascinating, and done a very good job with theming. And this is the type of attraction that I think would do very well next to a Disney. This is, families come in, they go to a Disney park, and then when they do the second day, they're going to spend half their day at a Magic Park playing around and burning off some of that Disney energy.
The point of a mule is that it can be a vampire. It can feed very well off of a captive audience. So where you would have a large theme park or resort or tourist attraction, if you put the correct kind of mix of a mule, mixed-use leisure entertainment facility, into that market, then you can feed off of the audience, because not everybody is going to spend all of their time at the theme park or at the tourist venue, and having this as a secondary option for the entertainment mix means that you feed very successfully off of that captive income. And then finally, the big announcement, of course, the doors being thrown open. We have a soft opening at the moment. The doors don't fully open until August, the first week of August, on Universal Horror Unleashed. Don't bring your dog. The situation here is that you are looking at a considerable investment by the Universal operation into location-based entertainment. I would argue to a comparable level to the investment that our friends at Netflix has made with their Netflix house, though we're looking, at a 110,000 square feet of space. You can see from the drone footage there that is a vast area that is just going to comprise a horror walkthrough experience with live actors and F&B, a unique dining experience. They better have got that experience right, or that could be one of the violent white elephants of our industry if they haven't. And they've already announced that they're going to be opening their Chicago facility for next year. So this is a steam train that has left the station before they've even had a chance to work out who their passengers are.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is obviously the first opening in phase 2 for Area 15. This is part of their 5-phase expansion, just on the north side of the Area 15 area. And so the first opening, hope it's successful for the Fisher Brothers. Obviously, the phase 2 is almost completely filled out. There'll be a museum of ice cream and another big immersive John Wick experience as well. I think one of the things that they've done here, at least, and I will see how well they execute it, is they have done a little bit of a Netflix house concept here, in the fact that they have four different scare and haunt experiences. And so one of the things that'll allow them to be able to do is, again, if they're executing well, is rotate out their experiences. So after the first 2-3 years, these 4 experiences start to get a little tired. They can start to swap out one of the experiences and keep them kind of moving around and keeping the overall experience fresh.
So from Universal's point of view, they're building on a proven formula. They have been running very successful Halloween scare attractions over the last few years, and they have learned a package of presentation, the same way that our friends at Netflix have been running their experiences as pop-ups before they have decided on a permanent fixture. The issues are how quickly they can turn around, update and refresh. And from Unleash's point of view, it is very dependent on its live actors, their VACtors, their virtual entertainment team that is rolling through these experiences and steering the audiences through. And again, this is going to be an audience that is much more mature than any conventional entertainment facility. And it may work in Vegas, but we're going to really need to see it work in Chicago and Texas, which I'm sure is obviously the next launch venue for them. Moving to the Shots, and some good news regarding the Shots. Our friends at Highest Score Arcades, who we were talking about a few sound-offs ago, opens and shuts ago, have managed to stay execution, and their couple of days or their weekend of survival and getting the local community to help them and push them into profitability seems to have worked. They're reporting in the local media that they have dodged the Axeman's swipe, and that they're moving forward after raising revenue and generating interest to their unique entertainment venue. It's nice to have some positive news in Open and Shuts, and we wish them well going forwards, and hopefully they've learned some lessons.
Well, maybe the lesson, I mean, it is great news, actually, but maybe the lesson is that they shouldn't have specific set prices, but they should just do what they did on that weekend and have be open to, you just pay whatever you think your time was worth. And, they seem to have done better than they've done any other weekend by just opening up themselves to not donations because they're not a nonprofit, but to basically tip style tip spot. There was no set price for the visit there, so maybe that's the model for these free play arcades is come in and pay whatever you think your time is worth, and we're not going to set any specific price point.
I've seen that done. I was at a facility a couple of days ago, which is not asking you to come in and pay what you think it's worth, but they do have a flexible price model. You walk in, you pay a certain amount, and then you stay for the duration before your card kicks you out, or the free play system kicks you out. I am looking forward to seeing if these individuals have learned the lesson of how close they came. And how much they need to listen to their audience. And I'm hoping that they will call upon some saner heads that will give them a business overview perspective based upon where they need to be, rather than depending on the largesse of their locality to bail them out of problems. But again, we're happy that they survived. One of the impacts going around in the current financial conditions is that if you're not prepared to be harsh and restructure your operation and cut dead wood, then you're going to go to the wall. Some of the beer and restaurant chains are now cutting dead wood, both in their C-suites as well as in their operational. Brewdog is a well-known brewery, beer maker, and facility operator. They're actually one of the few of the brewery chains that has actually dabbled in competitive socializing. And they developed at their Waterloo facility in London a beer experience, a normal pub with a fantastic selection of flight beers and good F&B, but they also included duck pin bowling and a much more casual social component to the mix. Well, that site is surviving, but 10 other sites, including a number in London, will be going to the wall. A mixture of uneconomics or difficult landlord conditions, and they are really focusing now on their 60 remaining facilities to drive forward their endeavors. And that's something we all need to be mindful of, that even the bigger chains now are pivoting to try and eat our lunch. Anyway, that's really covering it from all of you listening and watching. I hope that you have subscribed to your Stinger and to your entertainment social arena. I hope you're also consuming it through both audio as well as video if you're watching this, and I hope that you're supporting us by giving us the thumbs up or commenting in the comments, or just sending me an email and abusing my poor pronunciation of certain companies' names. But anyway, Brandon, have I covered everything there?
Well, we didn't cover everything on that list, but everything that we highlighted, so I think is good.
That is good. Well, that's it from me. Wishing you well.
If you run a location-based entertainment brand and want to attract more visitors, check out Radius. They use real-time location data and customized marketing strategies to help brands like yours stand out. Radius can boost your foot traffic and build a loyal customer base. Plus, they're offering a complimentary local market analysis to show you exactly how they can help you grow. Curious? Visit radius.co and ask about your free market analysis. That's RAYDIUS.co.
All right. Wow, that was a great open and shut. Next up, we have Arcade Corner with Adam Pratt. We're going to learn a little bit about the newest Resident Evil #2. Let's hear it.
Hey everyone, it's Adam with Arcade Heroes for the Arcade Corner here at the LBX Collective. I've been absent for a week. News was a little bit slow this summer, as it often is with arcades, but then all of a sudden things get really busy. But there's been one story that's really been capturing interest out there, and that's what you sort of see on my screen here. If you tilt your head, you can see where it says Resident Evil 2 Deadshot. And so this just popped up out of seemingly at random. I mean, granted, the thing is that in the arcade industry, if you've been around for a while, you know this already, but if you're new to it, summertime is a great time for manufacturers to test out new games. And of course, in the older world of arcades, it was normal that tests could go unknown, or they'd just become a rumor, and people are like, well, I played this game at such and such place and it was amazing, but I never saw it again. And that would often be a failed test. But in the age of social media, it's pretty much impossible for a test to go long unnoticed. Now, I guess I shouldn't say, I did say have the qualifier pretty much, but I should say that there have been times where manufacturers told me they've been surprised that I didn't hear about something. But when it has a giant name attached to it, where it's a big name in the gaming world, the chances of it going unnoticed are very, very slim, if not impossible there, just because there are generally so many fans that are attached to that license that once one fan finds out about it, then they spread it amongst the different communities online. And that's exactly what's happened with Resident Evil 2 Deadshot, which it's based on the Resident Evil 2 remake, which came out in 2019, 2020, somewhere around there, developed based on the Capcom series. However, the arcade version is being handled by Bandai Namco. And of course, they have Bandai Namco Amusements, or I guess they're changing the name of that again. They've changed that name more than once before, but it's going to be Bandai Namco Experiences. And I think that's supposed to be more encompassing for Europe, North America, Japan, etc. But if I back out here, so there was this video that, well, let me back up really quick. So the location where this is being tested at in Europe posted about this. That's how we found out about it. And they put their name on it of the location and everything. Apparently, they were not supposed to do that. I was talking with a representative at Bandai Namco. They asked me to remove the name of the location because they were trying to get just pure raw data about this. But I think, again, it's going to be very difficult just because there's so many Resident Evil fans out there to do that. And I mean, this is really blown up out there as far as going viral and such. And I'm not talking necessarily about the videos that I've done on this, but from videos that have been shot over where it's at, because since the name of the location did get out there initially, let me fire this up. And so this is where you can see, this was sent to me by Toby Nanakorn. He's a big arcade gamer, big arcade community guy over in the UK. He went and saw this and played it. He has a video on his channel showing actual gameplay. For this, he just sent us these shots as well as the inside of the cabinet, which interestingly enough is a stand-up cabinet. It's not very common to have an arcade environmental cabinet like this one, where you're standing inside of it as opposed to sitting down, but it would have a shaker foot base that you would stand on, uses pistols. So a post on Arcade Heroes, I've embedded the video of this. Now, I should say, maybe as a disclaimer, this game is very violent. It's probably the most violent game that we will have seen in arcades in the past, I don't know, 10 years or more, 20 years maybe. So it appears to have, it's going to have, most likely, or another disclaimer, if this passes testing, which seems pretty likely, it'll have 5 chapters. Graphics on it are phenomenal. But again, very violent, very bloody. And Kevin Williams was asking me about the rating system, what's this going to land at? I mean, to me, it doesn't seem like anybody's really giving a crap about the arcade rating system anymore. I mean, given this is based on a console game, console games in general are far more violent than anything that's gone out there in the arcade. Personally, I think they should keep it, just make it an option. If the location wants to turn it off, they can. But I mean, it does seem like with the amounts of gore and violence that are in this, it'll be kind of hard to change it. But of course, you can just change the color of the blood, I guess, to brown or purple or something. But I mean, it's all over the place. So again, a little bit of a surprise just because we haven't seen that in a long time. But I used to have a Carnival from Midway, which was, for its time, was extremely gory and violent, blood everywhere. And I never actually had a complaint. In fact, it was one of my best performing games when it worked. That was the only problem is it didn't work for very long. But it still did amazing numbers, and it paid for itself several times over, which was great. But yeah, so as I mentioned, this one became viral. IGN picked it up. IGN has almost never mentioned our video arcades in many, many years. They just basically pretend that they don't exist. And the only times that they've gotten close has been in mentioning pinball machines, because Stern Pinball for a while would reach out to them, and they would become the principal source for news on a brand new pinball machine, which again it makes sense as far as, there's a lot of people that read IGN, but it doesn't make sense in the fact that nobody at IGN seems to know or care that arcades exist. And so it seemed like a kind of an oddball thing where it's like, here we are talking about a product for an industry we think is dead and we don't know anything about. And of course, that's always the problem with mainstream sources when they cover this stuff, is they cover it, but they're just like, oh my goodness, it's like, where is this coming from? And pretty sure arcades are dead. And of course, there's the silly semantics that are gotten into as to, is Dave & Buster's an arcade? And, some people will say absolutely not. And others would say, yes, it is. I mean, I myself would argue that it is. It has arcade games in it. It has a game room. Is it an arcade in the sense of what a 1982 arcade was like? No, but it still is an arcade. It still has a game room. And, these products, the big argument that I like to push is that if the arcade industry is dead, then who are they making these products for? It's not for collectors. You don't have thousands of collectors out there that have that much money to spend on games like this that would warrant dropping millions of dollars on their game development. It's for locations first and foremost. But as for when this is going to be hitting the arcade scene, according to Bandai Namco, they said very far off. I would note that with Goldstorm Pirates, that started testing at the beginning of 2023 and didn't come out until about now. And so about a year and a half. So if it's very possible that this could still be a good year and a half away from July 2025. So, I mean, I would say probably at the earliest, I would be amazed if it's out by next summer, if not the end of next year. And so maybe it'll show up a little sooner than that. I don't know. But still, it's not coming next month. I would be a little bit surprised if it's at IAPA. I mean, it still might be at IAPA 2025, just because it's somewhat far along, or it's far enough along to be tested out there. But again, sometimes game development takes a lot longer than what people plan for, and so that's where it's very, very rare for arcade manufacturers to say when something's coming along. But again, that's the big news of the week. It was nice to see some mainstream coverage, even though they didn't respect the whole thing about not saying where this was at. So I wouldn't be surprised if this won't be on test for much longer, because Namco might need to, or they're going to need to move it out there if they want to get some different testing data. Unless they decide, hey, okay, so we see this big spike because of all this media coverage, and then let's see what happens after that dies down a little bit. But also there's other communities like Resident Evil fan groups on like Reddit, and other gaming forums have been talking a lot about this. And so just from that, it's getting that coverage, which again is good for the industry in general. It's good to have a lot of attention being brought to us. I just wish it wasn't like once every 5 years where you get something like that coming along. where people are like, wow, I didn't know arcades were still a thing. And where's this game coming from? They don't seem to realize it's like this thing costs millions of dollars to develop, and nobody would do that again for just a handful of potential buyers. But that's big news to end our July off on. Before too long, we'll probably start seeing stuff coming up for IAPA 2025. I mean, it'll still probably be a month or two, but who knows? There always can be something else that's on test that pops up out there. I guess with that in mind, Missile Command Recharged started shipping from Allen 1, and they still haven't announced it yet, but they're supposed to have a new variation of Soda Slam that has a license attached to it coming along soon. But either way, that's the arcade news for this week. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your July, and we'll see you in August.
All right. Well, thanks, Adam, for that. And coming up last here, we've got promo pro tips with Chuck DeMonte. He's going to dive into how to do meta ads.
Hello and welcome to Promo Pro Tips with Chuck DeMonte. That is me. And today I want to cover meta ads with you, the different objectives you could do on meta ads, and what we as marketing specialists in the FEC world typically use those different objectives in meta ads for. Okay. So now there's different objectives. If you guys know meta and you've done ads there before, you know there's different objectives. And now there's also an area in meta where, you know, they try and you use the business manager, and there's like a more of a slicker, easier version that Meta has created for to make it easier to run ads. We like to run them in the ads manager to get as many features as humanly possible. Okay. And so when you're running meta ads, you typically could choose objectives, okay, of what you want to accomplish when you're running those ads. Now, some of those objectives includes awareness, engagement, link clicks, right? Leads. And then even under those things, there's other like sort of sub objectives, right? So for example, with awareness, you could say, put up a static image and say, I just want to reach as many people as possible. Okay. You could also say under awareness, I want to get as many video views as possible, right? And now what's going to happen is when you tell Meta what the objective is, Meta is going to look for people that watch videos on Meta, people that click links on Meta, people that, you know, engage with posts on Meta, right? It'll start there. It'll then continue to narrow it down based on your audience and who you are, right? If you are a Mexican restaurant, it's going to hopefully find people that watch videos and like Mexican food, right? So that's what the Meta AI algorithm is going to do, right? It's going to choose your objective and hopefully find the right people for you, especially if you're using an Advantage Audience Plus. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the details about targeting and stuff, but I'm going to give you the objectives we typically use and the scenarios and strategies we use them for, okay? Now, let's start with the lowest one, sort of the easiest one, awareness, okay? Now, we use a tool called Placer AI to help us understand the foot traffic and where our clients are getting their visitors from, literally what zip codes and where they're coming from. Now, this allows us to place our targeting in certain areas, which makes our awareness campaigns very effective. Now, you don't need it, but it helps because awareness, there's no way to track it to an ROI, a return on investment. Now, some people find that extremely important. And while it is important, right? Awareness, if you've watched me on this, you know, do these segments before, awareness is the top of any marketing funnel, okay? So it is super important that people know about you before they do their business with you, right? So even if you don't have a target or you don't have a tool like Placer AI to understand where to place these ads geographically, and if it's actually bringing people in from those places you're targeting, getting awareness out at its very simplest form is still extremely, extremely, extremely valuable, right? So how do you use awareness ads? So again, like I said, you can create a static image. Typically what we'll do is we'll have 3 different like ad types. You have a carousel, which is you could swipe through, we like that, okay? We create a video and we have a static image and we run all 3 of those ads at the same time. And we tell Meta, reach it, get it in front of as many people in these zip codes or in this mile radius around your location. And we just put up a pretty much a caption that represents who you are as a brand, what you offer, right, as a location, okay, and make it look as fun and as engaging as possible. That's going to make people want to come in, share it with them, tell people, oh, I saw this cool place, we should check that out, or just remarketing and make people remember that they've been to your location or that they even wanted to go there, right? So to stay in front of people. So that's typically how we use awareness ads. Now, again, if it's not a reach, or if it's not a static image, and we're not just saying get reach, it could be a video, and we say get more video views on this, right? It's all great ways to get in front of people and drive awareness for your brand. So that is huge. Again, pro tip, if you can, if you have a tool like Placer or can, use that to track your ROI, even better, right? But not a necessity. People just knowing about you, local people knowing about you is more important, okay? The next thing we do is engagement, right? So what does that mean? That's basically literally telling Meta, I want people to like my Facebook post, like my Facebook post, like my Instagram post, right? Share it, comment on it, okay? Now, why is this good? So Meta is a pay-to-play platform, okay? They're a public company. They need to make money. So they've learned many years ago that businesses will pay to get in front of more people, right? Which is the case. That's marketing. So if you want to do engagement ads, in my opinion, it accomplishes two objectives. When you're doing organic content, if you do engagement ads, it's going to get more reach on that organic content, right? So you're not sort of just posting into the void, right? If you have 100 followers, you could do some content engagement for very little money, right? $50, $100 a month, and you will reach tens of thousands more local people, right? So that's great. Just again, that's sort of the awareness piece on the engagement ads, okay? The second piece is it's going to get people to like I said, like, comment, share. If you're scrolling through Instagram and you see, Billy's trampoline park has 1,000 likes on a post, you're going to say, oh my God, this place must be really popular. People must really like this place, right? So it's social validation, okay? So the engagement is reach, but it's also social validation because it's putting it in front of people who typically engage with posts, like, comment, share, right? And you'll get more of those. It'll create more reach, and it'll create more social validation for your place and your brand. People are going to think everybody likes this place, okay? Next is lead ads. Now, admittedly, we don't do these as much anymore, but lead ads mean you could literally create a form on Meta, okay, that pairs with your ads. And you could do that, let's say for online, you could do that for event bookings, right? And say, hey, get $50 off this event, fill out this form, right? Now, there requires some sort of sales outreach for that. It's not a true online booking, right? But you can collect data and collect people that are going to sign up that are going to be interested in for an event, okay? Now, this is really easy because it's in platform. So when somebody says, yeah, learn more, or yes, get $50 off my next birthday booking, right? A form will pop up that's auto-populated with the information that Facebook already has, name, email, phone number, and then they just have to maybe submit some other information. Now, we do like adding some custom questions because it will increase the barrier to entry on this form, which will get you better quality, right? So with this Meta lead form, you're going to get a lot of quantity, right, and a little bit of a lower quality, okay? But the quantity is valuable, right? So you could retarget those people, you could email them, remarket to them, and also you're going to have salespeople call them hopefully pretty quickly after they fill out that form. So that's one way. If you don't necessarily have an online booking platform, or you want to increase your data, you could do lead ads. Now, again, we don't do a ton of that. That's a very cool way, okay? Now, the very final way that we typically use is conversion ads, and we use this in two ways. So when we mean conversion ads, you're literally telling what Meta a conversion is to you. It could be anything, right? Click on this button, right? On booking an event online through my online booking system, right? Whatever that is. Now, not every system will allow you to set up conversion tracking, right? We highly suggest you find one that does allow for, implementing Meta conversion tracking. It is an absolute game changer. It's putting your lights on in your car at night, right? You could see what's going on. So, if you have an online booking platform, that's a great place to use conversion ads, right? You're going to send people to your website when somebody books online and comes from the ad, okay? Your online platform is going to tell Meta, hey, somebody hit the link that you wanted me to, or somebody, hit that conversion you asked for, right? That's what we want. And your ad is going to say, Meta, look, somebody just did this action. I want more of those. Find me more people that will take this action, okay? And then Meta can get better because you're telling it what success is, okay? That's how you get online bookings, tickets, events, all that other stuff, right? It is huge. That is sort of, the holy grail of Meta advertising for family entertainment centers. The other way we use conversion ads is by doing sweepstakes, okay? And so we give away a free event per month, and we connect conversion tracking. When somebody lands on that landing page that we're giving away the event on, they submit the form. I tell Meta that's conversion. This form submission is a conversion. I want more of those, right? And then it allows us to increase our email opt-ins, our SMS opt-ins, our social media followers. We run a sweepstakes for all this. And again, I can tell what cost am I getting people to enter the sweepstakes for, right? How many people are entering the sweepstakes? So there's so many things we can do with those conversion ads. So again, Meta could range from, you know, the pretty simple to pretty complex. Okay, simplest being awareness, right? Complex being conversion ads. If you can do all of them, great. Minimal, do awareness ads, right? And so again, just to recap, you got awareness. We lean into those for reach and video views. You got engagement. We lean into those to get organic engagement on our organic posting and reach in our organic posting. You have lead ads. You could do that to generate leads for events and other things, right? But you're going to need a sales team for that. And then you have conversion ads. A lot of times we're using that for online bookings and sweepstakes to get more people to, you know, more people's contact information. So go out, try and get some meta ads done. If you ever have a question, you could always reach out to me at radius.co.
Intercard is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. Cashless systems from Intercard increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercard is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon. All right. Well, that winds down the show for today. We have a cool show for you next week. So Kevin Williams, Adam Pratt, and myself, we're going to be doing a deep dive into the state of the industry. And so that'll be the whole show pretty much. So it's you know, I'll come in, I'll do a little introduction or whatever, but that will be the whole show. So it's going to be that deep dive. It's you know, it's good. We've already recorded it. We're very excited about it. And so that will run on August 3rd instead of the normal LBX show. And then the following week, August 10th, we'll pick back up with the standard regular LBX show, although we will have the Game On with Justin Michaels. So getting into some redemption and arcade floor stuff there. And so looking forward to that segment on August 10th. All right. That is a wrap for this week's LBX show. This is Brandon Wiley signing off. Stay tuned and keep kicking.